Welcome back, everybody. We got another day of the LCK Spring 2020. It is me, Valdez, with LS here on the desk. We have KT up against Hanwha Life Esports to start us off. And then, of course, we do have Damwon up against Afrika later on today. And we were talking about this yesterday, LS, how we think that today should be a pretty close game between both of the teams. They seem pretty evenly matched based on what we've seen so far.
And I mean, KT, they've been showing a little bit more signs of life in recent matches that they've played. Hanwha Life, they came out the gate in 2020 looking extremely innovative and just all around very different from the other LCK teams, but they've been really struggling to find their footing so far in 2020, and this is going to be one of the closer matches that both teams are going to be able to have before we start moving into round number 2, and this is an important one for both of them.
Absolutely. I mean, there's already so much on the line for both of them. KT is on a small winning streak, as we're going to take a look at the standings here and go into that a little bit more. You can see that KT 2 wins in a row. They were 0-5 previous to that, whereas Hanwha Life, forever 6th place, are going to be there for now. And even if they do lose this one, I believe they will still be in 6th, just based on indicator points, unless it's a 2-0 for KT. But we'll have to wait and see how that does go down. Part of me is, like, my heart is saying Hanwha Life, but my head is saying KT in this one, as it does feel like their winning streak really does have some weight behind it.
Listen, Valdez,
okay.
I'm the opposite of you.
Really?
Okay. I'm thinking that Hanwha Life are going to walk away with this one decisively.
Decisively? 2-0?
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, well.
We're going to take a look at the points of the match now. 2 wins after 5 losses. KT with a huge momentum swing. It's obviously nice. This is what I was just referencing before we jumped into the points of the match, that they are on an upswing a little bit, and that's really helpful as well as boosting morale within the team for when they're not here at Lowell Park playing in the tournament, and probably just helps out with their scrim atmosphere and everything else. Hanwha Life going hard on the East, but they need one more win to join the West. So this is like when you grow up on the East Coast, but then you get a plane, and you try to go over to LA.
You move to LA.
And then you ask why you're paying $3,000 for a...
I mean, it depends on where you're from on the East as well.
I guess, yeah, New York, it does.
New York wouldn't be very fun. I believe those are also lyrics in everybody's favorite song. They go hard on the East, they go hard on the West.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Okay.
Seems familiar. Aiming obviously doing really well. And so on, and Bono playing against their former team. See if their, that inner mental game can go into it, as we're going to take a look at some team stats. As you do see so far, KT, even though they're 2-5, whenever they have a gold lead at 15, things generally turn out pretty well for them. 5-1, but the team goal difference at 30 is actually quite horrid for both of these teams.
It is quite bad for both, as, I mean, we don't really expect a whole lot out of these two. Coming in here. Win rate with gold lead at 30, though. Hanwha Life a little bit more in the lead, and that typically tends to be because they do draft more in the scaling department. So I would be very surprised to actually see their win rate be under it, as we're taking a look at some highlights here. And Kuro with the LeBlanc.
LeBlanc?
Who?
LeBlanc?
I actually forgot how to actually say her ID.
Really?
Yeah, do you know
her
that?
ID?
Or her name.
Yeah,
do you know
I suppose that's her identification. LeBlanc? Are you LeBlanking on it?
The actual pronunciation of the name.
LeBlanc?
In its origin language.
You mean French?
I'm done with you.
I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Like, is it not LeBlanc? Have I been lied to this whole time?
I don't think it's LeBlanc. I think there's a different,
Like LeBlanc?
No, I don't think that is. What are you doing?
I'm trying.
All right.
Trying to understand what's going on.
Cube with the combo in this highlight on the Aatrox against Nuggery. And gets some assistance from Senna. We don't need to talk about that, though.
Yeah, it's just a flash of light.
Yeah.
I think they just took Cloud Drake or something, so,
Yeah.
you know, the wind comes over the rift. Something like that. And, yeah, I mean, these are some highlights in Hanwha Life's match against Damwon Gaming. Damwon, another team that was kind of struggling, but they're still over there on the west side of the bracket so far. But they haven't looked nearly as clean as we expected them to, as Aiming, his damage percentage is first in the LCK, not just for 80 carries. So 34.8% is the most out of any player in the LCK currently.
And I think a lot of this probably has to do with the fact that his team was performing so poorly. And when he's playing the champions that he is, I don't think it's that difficult to get to the super high end of the damage share for your team. And so that is bolstering his stat. And I feel like that's the inner workings that people are really curious how a player on a team that is struggling so hard can have that nice of a number and current lead in the LCK. As Tushin, Aiming, Kuro, Bono, and so on is going to be the starting lineup for KT today.
That it will, and in the same sense that we don't want to let Faker play LeBlanc, I think after watching Kuro play it, that's generally a good idea if you have some extra bans. The only thing is that KT's starting on blue side, so Hanwha Life are going to have some trouble getting some of the extra bans out there. They might feel forced into banning something like Ornn and Aphelios and, you know, one more extra.
Yeah.
Real question is, what will the extra be? Or will they try to go into a game of chicken and not ban any of the OPs in attempting to get some of their own?
And you know, we actually haven't been seeing as much Yuumi as I would have expected. But I do feel like tonight is a match where she could come out, depending on how the ban pick ends up going for both of these teams. And Vista starting again.
Yeah.
Is, I mean, it's, you know, he's been actually doing pretty good, role swap considered.
For sure. And not just good for himself, but good for his team, because we saw Zenit come out one time up against Damwon, and it was one time only. And that was the last time after he went 0-4 extremely quickly. And I think that will be the last time for a while that we do see Zenit. They gave him a chance and he kind of flopped. So Vista is back in that lineup.
Set banned away by KT. And also banning away the Soraka on blue side. That's always an alarming thing when I end up seeing it, as Hanwha Life very traditional with their bans thus far. Ornn and Aphelios, the good old red-blue. And Yuumi banned away. KT is not a fan of fun.
No. or anti-fun. Fun for you, perhaps.
Fun for me. I play blue in Magic.
Yeah.
You do too, I believe.
Yeah,
so.
I do.
You are a bit of an intellectual.
And Senna gets banned away. Senna Tom Kent has just been ravaging the LCK, and I'm kind of glad that it gets taken away. It seems too strong and too safe, which is just LCK's favorite combo of two things together. So getting them out of the way, I think, is a good idea. They're going to pick up the Jarvan here. They deny Haru, and they give Bono one of his favorite champs in one fell swoop. So I actually really like this first pick here for the side of KT.
And
oh.
LeBlanc coming out very early. And now we'll see if KT are going to break LeBlanc's 100% win rate wherever Faker is right now. I do believe he just turned on the LCK stream.
Yeah. He's like, oh no, not like this.
Not like this.
Me and Kuro were doing so well together. And BDD, I think, has a win on it. I'm not sure who the other people that have wins on it are.
And, well, it's really interesting right here. They're actually picking more champions that are vulnerable to LeBlanc. And so that is very surprising. As Ezreal coming in, and now Lissandra, a very old counter to LeBlanc. 1 pick, a 0% win rate, 0% ban, 1.1% pick.
Ooh.
Nice little stat right there. So some binary going on down there. As LeBlanc is, or Lissandra isn't in the worst, well, she's in a pretty bad state. It's not the worst that she could ever be in, but this is very early on into the draft to just pick her in a vacuum against the LeBlanc. Now, post first recall, Lissandra's able to basically do whatever she wants at that point in the lane. She's going to have autonomy and be able to just respond to whatever it is that LeBlanc would ever try to do. And in general, just a very strong champion. A lot of people will probably remember it last year when she was extremely oppressive, but she has been nerfed and changed a bit since then. So it's not that Lissandra of old, as Lee Sin came in as the R3 pick for Hanwha Life, which is very bizarre, considering the Lissandra is inviting in melee champions and direct engage. So a bit counterintuitive by Hanwha Life to just pick a stat check jungler like this, as now they're banning away Renekton and Lucian. Which, Lucian and Renekton are both trying to achieve different things.
Yeah.
Which is very bizarre. Lucian, you could imagine, could come in as a potential desire to pick like Gangplank or something of that nature. The Renekton is also very peculiar given that the set is already banned away, and I know that Korea perceives Renekton as one of the problems for set. The thing about banning away these two physical damage champions, though, is that you get so much value out of Ninja Tabi in runes against the Jarvan plus the other physical damage combo. So, Aatrox coming in.
Yeah, another melee champion. I know that makes you really, really happy. Straight into the Lissandra. And I was wondering about, what we're going to see as a support for the Ezreal. We've seen Karma now, obviously Yumi, but that's banned away. It looks like they're not going to pick support just yet as the Kennen comes in. I suppose the Kennen could go support, but we haven't seen that one in quite a while. Just going to be used to deal with the Aatrox in a vacuum in that lane up in the top side.
Kennen coming in makes their team composition a bit off kilter. Yes, the Kennen, the Lissandra, and the Jarvan, they do want to go in. The Ezreal obviously having a bit of a different component, but now with the Nautilus, they are hard on engaged with an Ezreal that's sort of no theme. And just going to be like the janitor in the team composition. Yeah, he's the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Inside of this team composition that's just very slippery. Taric, beautiful pick on R5. And we've seen more and more teams are starting to utilize counter picks on the support role because of how impactful they can actually be. Now, the really bizarre thing is that you have the Lissandra, you have the Kennen, you're incentivizing magic resistance and even Merc Treads to actually come out, which is so perplexing. So the Aatrox has insane value. Also, everyone on Hanwha Life, except for the Misfortune, can actually get out of the Jarvan Cataclysm. They're very slippery against the Nautilus. And because of the way that they're going to be able to itemize, even though KT tried to design a team composition that was effective against LeBlanc as well as just achieving other things, they in a way ended up handing over rewards to some of the things that Hanwha Life was drafting, and then ended up getting counterpicked on R5. So if KT doesn't get ahead in the 20-minute mark, and we're talking 2 dragons or something of that nature, plus several thousand gold lead, it is unfathomable for me to imagine that they should ever be able to realistically win team fights at 2.5 items forward. And it should be smooth sailing for Hanwha Life at that point.
Yeah, it does feel pretty good. We were questioning some of their earlier decisions in the draft, like Lee Sin, Aatrox, but then it felt like KT kind of just threw them a softball afterwards and gave them a chance to counter them with, which Hanwha Life took and was very happy about. So looks like we're just about ready here, guys, to hop onto the Rift for yet another day of League of Legends. It's my 4th day in a row. First time doing this, actually. for the LCK. And I remember when Papa was doing 6 days in a row when we had the change up because of the Asia games that were going on.
He was doing 6?
Yeah, 6 days in a row because they had to condense the schedule. And it was supposed to be split, but he was the only analyst at the time before the return of the Sinner here to casting.
The return like the Undertaker.
Yeah.
You know?
What does that mean where he like jumps off the
What?
slams him into a table with a 200-foot drop or something? There's like
What?
a meme. You don't know about the
Hell in a Cell? Where he threw him off the cage?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What does that have to do with me?
Because you mentioned the Undertaker, so I don't know. I just I was extrapolating.
Well, just
it's been many days
hold
in a
your
row.
horses.
As I was saying, I don't know how Papa dealt with
This
6 days in a row.
It's not the Champions Club, okay? Dr. Disrespect versus the Undertaker, that's an entirely different thing.
Okay, all right.
You can see you haven't been catching up on recent news.
Oh, okay. Am I a little bit of a boomer then?
Yeah, you are.
A meme boomer? Ma-boomer?
What?
Oh boy.
All right.
It'll be fun to watch that mid lane. Aftershock still taken by Lysandra even after the changes.
And so far, starting things off, we have Bono.
Ooh, going in for the gank early onto Vista. He's not even going to bother to flash as heal and exhaust are used, but they say, well, you got me. Kind of like Walter White. And then just went ahead and died. He doesn't even have TP, so he's just going to have to run all the way back. So
Yeah,
pretty
unlike Walter
unfortunate.
White, though, they did get him.
Yes.
When he said that.
They actually did catch him.
Yeah. And this is I've been seeing this level 2 gank from Jarvan work at a surprising amount lately. It's very peculiar. Bono is going to make his way immediately over to his blue buff. He's going to start this one up now. And everything else is going to be pretty standard. So it's a nice little advantage for KT early. Also, getting it on the Ezreal does help him accelerate into his items and come online faster.
Yeah. And Aiming's Ezreal was quite impressive the last time he did come out up against Sandbox, so I'm not too surprised that they give him that champion once again to see if he can be that cleanup crew that you were talking about, as Ezreal's can be, especially if they get ahead. But Haru looking to strike back. Down here on the bottom side, it looks like they have no idea about this, but they're gonna quickly find out.
They
got Aiming here. The Q is going to land one more auto, but the knockdown with the auto by Tucson is gonna keep Haru in position, but it's not enough to tempt. Is gonna have his clone taken out.
It's still 25 gold. So it's nothing to scoff at, Valdez.
No, it's nice.
Nothing to scoff at.
That's
1 point.
a little bit less than a double range
It's
minion.
1.2% of a melee. Or 120%, sorry.
1.2% of a melee.
NA, yeah.
He gets like 3 pennies.
Couple of shekels.
Yeah.
For his Gangplank ultimate.
They don't
Gangplank's
take
not
pennies.
even in the game.
They don't take pennies anymore in 2020.
Taking a look at this replay again. This is a really nice clean gank that KT was able to set up. And then right here, honestly, a very close call.
Tucson, I think he could have blocked that Q, to be honest. But he flashed out of the way, and it ended up landing onto Aiming. His auto at the end with the passive for the root was nice, but it wasn't enough to stop Vista from flashing in and getting the kill. And by the way, had he flashed and still died on the level 2 gank, he would have not picked up that kill here. So, seeing the future is Vista.
Yeah. And QV just getting shoved in here. We'll see how much CS he can end up picking up from this wave. Really nice Ghost Poro that he has inside of that brush. Sitting there pretty much indefinitely. Just going to be used to spot out if Jarvan ever tries to come for a lane gank of sorts, as everything else is pretty standard at this point. KT has amassed a gold lead via their CS difference in bot lane. But Vista, we'll see how much weight, how much he can pick up here. That is a very large minion wave.
Yeah, well, Kive did a exceptional job of getting every CS under his turret on the Aatrox, which can be quite annoying sometimes with the hitboxes of his Qs. We don't get to see if Vista lives up to the hype, but either way, it looks like he was doing a pretty good job up until we panned away.
And well, Haru and Bono in such close proximity with one another.
Might just go for a quick play on the Ocean Drake here. So no Ocean Man with the Ocean Soul. I don't get to sing that today. We haven't had an Ocean Soul, I think, the entire time I've been casting these 4 days. So no return to the epic song, unfortunately. Makes me a little bit sad. But either way, that is going to be the Ocean Dragon going the way of KT. Infernal is next, which means we have Cloud or Mountain, which is a lot of what we saw yesterday. Cloud or Mountain.
Cloud Soul's obviously the least impactful, typically, at pro level. Ocean can outright end games by itself. And then Infernal usually is the next one in line that is able to do that.
Look at Tushin.
Tushin.
He's, he was so aggressive. Jarvan wasn't even there. He was so aggressive that the enemy team was like, oh, Jarvan must be there. We have to back away. But I think if all 3 of them just stayed and attacked the Nautilus, they probably would have gotten it. So nice use of what seemed to be mental gaming there from the side of Tushin, but I think he didn't even know that the Lee Sin was there. So turns out that it ends up being a nice little bonus for him.
And the other thing going on right now is that no dragon basically means there's no real incentive to have anything super chaotic happen. And honestly, Vista is just falling so far behind.
He went to help with the blue.
Yeah.
Lee Sin's at the red. You're not going to win a 2v3. You missed all of this CS. That is not, this is not the best start here for him.
Level 4, just dinged level 5. Aiming is level 6. So the discrepancy in bot lane is so overwhelming right now that it is greatly going to impact the Infernal Drake fight. If a fight even ends up taking place, Hanwha Life might be in their best interest to actually just forego it, as Aatrox up there in top lane has the Mercury Treads with the Kindle Gem, so he's itemized to actually be somewhat effective on low economy against this Kennen and the Lissandra. But the LeBlanc itemizing defensively initially has the Null Magic Mantle, as you can just see Kuro powering straight into Protobelt. Or we'll see actually if he does something different with the Hextech Gunblade, or with the Hextech Revolver.
Yeah. So far, the bot and jungle for the side of Hanwha Life are really not impressing me today. Haru threw a Q into the terrain that wasn't going to hit anything because he wasn't in close enough proximity. Something about it just seems off for me today for them. Hopefully their solo laners can try to pull it back, as both Kive and Tempt are doing quite well. Tempt keeping up in the CS, and what is not the most fun lane for him, and then of course Kive doing a good job up here. Even after being pushed in early, caught all the CS, and has had no real problems since.
And we're in a bit of a lull state. You know what, Valdez? I feel like you and I typically we don't get into lull states as often as Valdez, or as often as
Valve-Analyst.
Valve-Analyst, yeah,
Atlas,
and
yeah.
Atlas. But I'm glad that I have you here.
Yeah.
For this one.
Yeah, it's good.
This one's making me a little. Okay, I like it.
It feels relaxing today.
It does.
I don't know what it is about today.
Yeah.
It was raining the last couple of days, but now I think.
Oh yeah, it was very sunny today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weather was pretty nice. It was a little bit dusty, but not really. Not to the point of being annoying. And everybody's wearing masks anyway, so helps against the dust at the same time. Tempt looking to land something there onto aiming, doesn't quite pan out.
And I'm not sure if we'll get any perfect games today, but aside from those 2 kills that occurred super early on, there's not really any action that is going on. Everyone just seems pretty content to just allow the lull state to flourish.
Yeah, especially Hanwha. As Big Charge is going to come in here, a bunch of gold goes to all 3 members down in the bottom lane. I'm a big fan of trying to get as much of that gold onto your AD carry as possible, but can be difficult to pull that off at the pro level as the enemy team would notice it. Kive actually doing a really good job up here on the top side. Is able to push in the cannon and open up a space to teleport if he was needed. Down on the bottom side, there weren't any real wards for him to get onto there, so as we mentioned, it seems like both teams are kind of just playing very passively here in this one.
A very bizarre game because Tempt has a little bit of Build-A-Bear going on right now. Has the Sapphire Crystal, the Dark Seal, the Doran's Ring, and the Corrupting Potion. So I feel like if there was some way to win an award for the most C marks on your report card, that would definitely be the build to go
C
for.
Marks? Oh boy.
As KT.
So on, you needed to run before now. He missed the Q though, as Haru is going to get on in there. This is what I'm talking about.
He didn't miss the Q, Valdez. He wanted to make him afraid.
Oh, okay.
That was what it is.
I see. Yeah, he was like just
Haru
pushing him up to the north.
A bit of a sadist. So what he wanted to do there was send that Q right near his face so he could feel the air.
The fear?
Yeah, the air moving past his face by the sheer force.
Whoa.
Only to then be killed by the LeBlanc.
Show him who's boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Likes to play with his food.
It's a pretty good idea out of Haru. I don't know what he's doing, but it's working out for him as he's a level up on Bono, as now they're trying to collapse onto Kyuve here. No Dragon Kick available with Haru making his way up.
Ooh.
Good dodge to start. Kyuve, again, he's pretty tanky with the build that he has chosen. True Shot Barrage through the pulls there. The field goal is good. And on the opposite side, Hanwha looking for an opportunity down towards the bottom side, but playing very passively there is KT as they push the top lane.
And KT is just continuously looking to accelerate their advantage. They're already at 2 dragons. A little bit disappointing for KT, though, that Cloud Dragon is going to be the one that can end up being converted into a soul. And when you think about what it means for a lot of their champions, the only real champs that get insane value out of it on their team is mostly just going to be Kennen. Because Jarvan, hold on.
Boy, this is way too late out of Lehens as he just gets blown up, and now it's 4-on-2 as the Cataclysm traps them both. They do have the flash here on Lehens, but it's only him, and he's absolutely dead no matter what. That is a 3-for-0 in the top side as Hanwha Life kind of falling apart.
Well, you know, we talked about in the draft select if KT was going to find a way to win this game. We said they were going to need a couple of early dragons, a couple thousand gold advantage. And they're finding it here in this game. So things are looking very rough for Hanwha Life to try to stabilize, especially because they've stunted their builds so much on some of their champions.
Oh boy, this is the revenge out of Hanwha Life. Is it going to work though? Kind of late to the party, and again, Stopwatch is such a good item as in goes so on, but it's not enough. That was a little bit optimistic, if I say so myself, as Kyuve's making his way into the backside. Finally, Bono's going to get here, and this is just a mess of a fight. Aiming still in the back, still autoing him down. Has a lot of mana here. Can he carry it by himself? That's what I'm looking for. A couple of moves are going to go wide, and so they will not pursue. But aiming getting there is really what scared Hanwha Life off as they get pretty low. And KT might be able to pick up that surely on the backside.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at how this all transpires. So Kyuve coming in Lehens' ultimate, just on a different universe than Haru. As I'm not sure what Haru was doing there. You can see that Lehens clicked in towards the turret as Haru went in. So definitely a completely different page. Kyuve not even there yet. Ends up just being a pretty clean 3-for-0 aiming. Watch him on the north-hand side. Tushin goes during this fight, even though he's going to have the depth charge available soon. So So gets brought down very quickly. Cube coming in, did not manage to actually bring down Kuro, and then right here, Tushen, again, doesn't have ultimate, doesn't really know what to do. Aiming actually backs up a little bit too far. Misses out on a lot of damage that could have been brought down, and it feels like KT actually played that end stage fight a little cautiously. Maybe perhaps given their current advantage and standing in this game, everything is just lining up very well. They also have double Proto Belt on Lissandra and Kennen. This is typically an item that you get when you are accelerating to add more salt to the wound, but it will fall off later in the game.
They're going to have it for now with their nice little lead. They got 10 turret plates total, and they actually got all the gold from that. So that is adding to their nice little lead that they have picked up so far. And now we do have that first Cloud Drake coming up. I know you mentioned how the ultimate cooldown is going to be mainly for the Kennen, more so than anything else. Helps out some of the other members, but I think that movement speed would be quite nice for their team comp in terms of kiting and potentially collapsing, but they're just going to let it go as they say, okay, take the first Cloud Drake. We don't really care. We're going to push your mid turret and maybe get a double charge here and perhaps even take down the entire turret. As Hanwha Life are going to get here, but a little bit late to the party as they're going in. But this time the Cosmic Radiance is there. Can they do the damage to Bono? Yes, they can. But a huge Kennen ultimate into the back line. He is going to get exhausted, but it does the stun up, and Aiming has so much room to move in this fight. Down will go the Aatrox on the backside. Can we have the snipe? It's going to hit Haru, but not Tempt. Think it would have killed Tempt. But either way, they win the fight big, and they're still pushing here in the mid lane.
And this is definitely a bit unfortunate if you're a Hanwha Life fan. Now, after they raise this turret, they don't want to take the inhibitor. Way too early in the game to take an inhibitor would actually be a very negative thing to do, because it would end up stifling your current advantage and allowing the opponent to actually recuperate in gold and XP while it's down. As we just see that this team fight unfolding. Kara's ultimate comes out. They get a kill on Bono, but Kennen says, I don't really care.
He needs a stopwatch.
Yeah.
That little Kennen, I think that would be the perfect addition to his item.
He needs an Everstone.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Never. I'm so done with it.
If you mean a stopwatch, then I agree.
I was trying to go somewhere with that, but you just dropped the ball on me. No big deal.
Not the first time. It's probably it's probably like an Avengers thing, no doubt.
It's a Pokemon thing.
Oh, okay.
Get with the times.
Wow. So tons of damage here for the Ezreal. I don't mind that kind of priority for a certain champion if you can pop off on that one. By the way, Tempt 3-0-1. He's having a great LeBlanc game, but the rest of his team not really able to get on his level so far. Everybody else has 2 deaths.
And right now, I mean, it's a 5,000 gold lead currently for KT. It looks like they're just going to posture for a little bit. And now this is the scary part of the game where it can definitely enter into a lull state depending on what KT is going to do. Now...
Oh, boy.
Okay.
So could be in a bit of trouble here. He's going to get the stun down, but with Lee Sin on the arrival, they are going to take him down just barely. Cube in the bottom side. He's got some help here from his friendly Taric, who is going to save his life. Aiming. Looking to go for the snipe. That's not going to work out. Hits the minions at least. Feel like that could have been used to help push here down on the bottom side, but tried to go for the extra risk, extra reward play, as they have the push anyway.
And gold lead continues to stay about the same after everything. As Kennen, he's going for the Forbidden Book. That is the thing that he's doing right now, as there's already magic resistance present on the enemy team. And so it's a little bit surprising because the healing on the side of Hanwha Life, it comes in on certain targets, but the overall damage he would be able to dish out relative to the healing with the Void Staff, or, well, taking a look at this replay, I mean, he ends up dying. Just had to weave that one in there.
Yeah, he ends up dying. That is what happens. And as Tempt gets further ahead, his team seems to get further behind.
This might be it for LeBlanc. This might be all that she wrote.
She was 9-9 before today.
Tempt was tempted, you know?
He was very tempted. And I don't blame him, you know? It's hard when you see a champion that you're good at have so much success. You tell your team, hey, let me be the carry this time around. As perhaps we just caster cursed him. Looking for the ultimate here, as they're both going to flash out of that one. Haru and Tempt is extremely slippery on those two champions.
And now we're just in a brief lull state. Another Cloud Dragon coming up. It's not imperative for a team fight to break out over it. I'm curious if Hanwha Life would even handshake into it. They're so close to item completions on their champions that it would be very surprising if they handshook it. I don't think they are. Tempt is obviously top lane right now, doesn't have a splash available, so close to completing. What I hope is a Void Staff, as we can only imagine that more magic resistances are going to start getting picked up from this point forward.
Yeah.
On the side of KT, probably might even get a Banshee's Veil. And it's not like there's any mountain dragons or something, so take it away. Take it away.
Take it away.
Now,
I'll take it away.
Ezreal does only have 35 magic resist. So the issue with this is if you have Sork Pen boots as well as the Oblivion Orb, you're getting near true damage on Ezreal. But now you have a Morello, and the Grievous Wounds isn't really that applicable or practical in nature against KT's team composition. Even though there's a couple of Conquerors, you go in and you really look at how much it's healing them, but then also what your role is as a LeBlanc and how much value the debuff has during a fight. And the only thing I can wonder is that he thinks that a fight is imminent, and if that's the case, then getting the Morello can be a good choice because it gives you the most bang for your buck in the exact moment.
I suppose so, but he had the Blasting Wand, and he had the Tome, right? Cost 1385. Oh, the ult is going to come down here onto Haru. He might just be dead. No more flash available as the burst from beyond. Still alive for just a moment, but gets speared in the back here by Bono. Who's going to pick that up. We had what looks to be a bit of a fight down in the bottom side as Soan's ultimate is down. Now they are looking at the Baron.
What's really interesting is that the gold deficit right now is only about 4,000. So, all things considered, Hanwha Life aren't really out of this game. If they can stabilize for just a couple more minutes, they should be able to pull it back, but we're going to handshake a fight.
Yeah, they're looking for it here. LeBlanc in the backside, and Lissandra just disappears. No ultimate, remember, again, on Soan as he used it against the LeBlanc on the bottom side. And Tempt is literally trying to go 1v9 in this game with the help of a Taric, essentially. And he's not doing a bad job. He gets the ultimate out of Kennen, teleports to the mid lane, and KT decide this is a good time to fight, but I think they underestimated the power that is Tempt so far.
And I would say now that Hanwha Life, they're going to complete their items on a couple of their champions. They're going to finally probably get the tier 2 boots on Vista. LeBlanc should get Mage Eyes. You have 10 Darksteel sacks. Anytime you hit that threshold, the passive of Mage Eyes is so valuable.
Not going to do it.
Allergic is Tempt to pulling himself closer to the finish line as he picks up a needlessly large rod.
This is the trade in the bottom side. You notice Soan uses his ultimate for no reason.
Just uses the Slicing Maelstrom. And this is a really key moment. KT, they're fighting not just down on HP and stats, but also down on cooldowns because they were just using them on the Baron. Temp finds his way in, deletes Lissandra, pops her like a balloon. And now, I would say, just like we talked about in the champ select, Hanwha Life's team composition is stronger the later that the game ends up going. The Misfortune, the Taric, so much more valuable. Aatrox is rewarded. And now you can see the magic resistance starting to come in on the champions on KT. And this is the thing I was mentioning about why the Morello isn't as effective. You know that in the future, they're going to get magic resistance. You already don't have Sork Pen boots. And then you're LeBlanc. You're not applying Morello to many targets.
Yeah.
And even the targets that you're looking to apply it to, they're not really healing a bunch.
You burst them from 100 to
you
0
burst them,
or 50 to 0.
And the damage that you deal is greater than the healing that you prevent. So it's still a net positive.
Yes.
So
based on math, based on science, not based on opinion, just so that everybody gets
that's
that
your
straight.
opinion, Belvis. All right.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm pulling a page out of LS's casting. I'm done. Well, we do have the Cloud Drake coming up here in 30 seconds, and you have to imagine that Hanwha Life's not going to let this one go down. It feels like a game of aiming versus Tempt in this one, which, again, I'm not too disappointed about. Tempt might just be able to keep LeBlanc's winning streak alive, which I think will get a lot of people excited with one champion being 10-0. Already able to burst down Bono to half health. He doesn't have the blue, though. He would love to pick up the blue so he can continue to do this. This is a really important objective. We'll be able to pick this up right before the Drake comes down. So now he can kind of get in there, get out, and just continuously do that without much recourse for the side of KT.
Yeah. And this is a very dicey situation. Hanwha Life are favored right now. It doesn't mean that KT is completely out of it. Obviously, a phenomenal slicing Maelstrom can obviously turn a team fight as well as LeBlanc.
There it is. They're trying to burst down Kuro, but smartly he's going to use that ultimate on himself, and the knockup on him, Misfortune is going to deny the bullet time. Kuro will get away. No deaths just yet, but in goes the Lee Sin, and he gets the big kick in the back line as Cuve's going to take down one at the same time. Lissandra not tanky anymore without her ultimate, without the aftershock being proc, and they're going to take the win and take this dragon with them.
Well, I do think Hanwha Life are just going to walk away with this game. At this point, they're doing this without major item completions come in. Lee Sin and Aatrox have been conducting themselves as effectively the same champion for the last 5-6 minutes in terms of itemization. So this is going to be a very big surge of power that's going to head their way. And the only question I have is who got excited before this fight? Because KT blundering and aiming is really tanky against QB. Does have that frozen, or he has that Iceborne Gauntlet.
Yeah.
But just a very disjointed fight out of KT. They still have a gold lead. It doesn't mean anything.
It really doesn't mean anything at this point. And to answer your question, I'm going to place my blame on the collective. I think as a collective, they probably were getting pretty excited as the game was coming along, saying, hey, aiming, is he the best AD carry in the world now? Some stuff like this. And can KT make it back to Worlds? But yeah, someone got excited. I'm going to blame the collective. And I suppose now you can get excited for LeBlanc.
So LeBlanc actually picked up another needlessly large rod. So we can probably assume that Tempt is about maybe 3 minutes away from a Rabadon's death tap. You like that? Death tap. Yeah, death tap. Completion. But I think that there definitely needs to be some Fs in chat for the missed out Magi's that would have exceeded the 10 stacks now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he picked up any kills, but he got 2 assists, so that's 4 stacks he could have picked up. And yeah, I mean, it's not going to come down just yet. He will have the nice little hat pretty soon, and maybe then he can build the Magi's, but not going to have it here for a little bit. As Hanwha Life still cautious. There's no big objective on the map. Just going to look for picks with the LeBlanc. That's really their only objective so far.
And just a lot of posturing. if you're Hanwha Life, you want to just try to make sure that KT can't do Baron while you stall for your LeBlanc to get depth cap. Because it's such a powerful spike that really just changes her dynamic. Now you can see Sohan looking for a miracle engage maybe,
Here it is
but
again. It comes down the Cosmic Radiance, but Temp this time is not able to burst him down. He's going to go down to the Ezreal, actually.
Temp died.
Sohan on the backside has the exhaust come in. And you were talking about waiting. Hanwha Life had a different idea. They wanted to go straight to that back line with the Cosmic Radiance up LeBlanc, and it does not work out.
So that was a very haphazard fight for Hanwha Life. They opted into it, and now they're going to lose potentially both inhibitors. And this can end up being pretty catastrophic. Now, the only fortunate thing is that it's another Cloud Dragon coming up, so Elder isn't spawning yet, so it's not the end of the world. And also, it's the mid and top inhibitors which are going down, which are the closest ones in proximity to the Baron, which means that Hanwha Life's champions are going to be there anyway. So they're still going to be able to push out these lanes effectively and be able to respond to a Baron. Still no death cap on LeBlanc yet.
He's got to be really close. I would love to take a look at the golds. Maybe if he goes up to the top side, takes a bunch of that CS out.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. A pause
You did
here
this.
at 31 minutes, 47 seconds. Huh. I wonder what the problem could be.
Well, hopefully we find out in a second. As the game currently stands, Hanwha Life still favored in the current state. They did just lose 2 inhibitors, but they're still favored in the team fight as long as they conduct themselves the way that their champion should be able to. And also, apparently there is a chat bug right now, so someone can't see the timers or something that might be going on inside a chat. All I have to say is thank God Doin B is not here on stage. That would definitely be a problem.
Yeah, well, we are going to take a look at the replay. You see the Cosmic Radiance, but she ate so much damage prior to it coming down.
And she just ends up getting picked off there by aiming. This was so disjointed. It was so different than all of the other team fights that Hanwha Life had taken up until this point for about the last 10 minutes. So very surprising as we cut right back to this.
Yeah, it was a pretty desperate dive all the way into the back line. And, I mean, it just didn't pay off. I mean, the Cosmic Radiance, if they were going to do that, it had to be a bit earlier. He took the majority of his damage, and then he greeted for the chains to land. Like, he stuck around for the second proc of the chains and moved forward, and that's actually what got him killed there, as we are going to resume, actually, right away.
I want to point something out, by the way. Have you noticed that Aiming's hair is starting to go more like golden blue?
Yeah.
It was gray before.
Yeah, that's true.
And now I think he's starting to power back up. So,
you know, it's making sense with the...
We are in a Dragon Ball Z mini-series here at the LCK. So a bit of a spin-off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was told recently what the real name of Goku was.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, but
okay.
I forget it.
Sounds like carrot.
Yeah, it's like Hanwha or something.
What?
What? Isn't that close?
Say it again. Say it again.
Hanwha? I'm pretty sure it was Atlas who told me.
Yeah.
I think it was him.
Oh, man.
Haru, what are you doing? I mean, stopwatch is a good item, but it's not that good. You're just going to die. And that is right before the Cloud Drake spawns here. So, really unfortunate timing. As Haru has been off this entire game. I called it from like minute 3. Hopefully he can shake off the rust before we get into game 2, because you'll want to forget about this one. Cloud Drake is going to go the way of KT here.
Now,
Unless they do consider going in here with the Cosmic Radiance.
Ooh. Well, Bono not here yet, but Tempt trailing with a pretty big minion wave that actually would have helped out had they taken it inside of the right-hand side jungle. But Rabadon's death cap is completed. Tempt tries to juke it, ends up getting hit. Mortal Reminder picked up on the Ezreal. Nice item purchase for him. As the next team fight is just going to decide the game. No matter what, whoever stands victorious at the end of it all.
Flashing here for the Taric. He flashes right at the end. Wanted to make sure that it wasn't a fat flash. As in goes aiming. He's going to stand up to the block. Who's just going to die? And that will be the end of the game. Absolutely. As now it's up to Vista to try to kite them under the turret, but they have a minion wave, they have super minions. And they will be pushing in here as they get Vista anyway. Just trying his best to stop the minions. Not gonna work out, as that is gonna do it. Will be the end of the game here as KT will take down Hanwha Life in game number 1. And the Blanc's win rate will fall to 9 wins and 1 loss.
And what a extremely bizarre ending to that game. Hanwha Life, they had fought back so valiantly up until when they botched it inside of the red side jungle. So it was a good 12 minutes of resistance that they were really walking. Is it the catwalk? They were walking a pretty thin line.
The tightrope.
The tightrope, sure.
Yeah.
As they managed to almost bring it back, and then Tempt just blundering a couple of times ended up giving KT the openings that they needed, and then right at the very end, I don't think anyone could have predicted that as an ending, except for that one guy in the collective. He knew.
He gets it,
yeah, he
actually. And LS was wrong the whole time, as was that other NA caster. He knew it. So listen to that guy in the chat. He wants you to follow his stream and all that good stuff, so make sure you guys do that. But no, seriously, I mean, aiming did a great job carrying. KT got the big lead early on in the game, which is exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, it really just came down to a couple of messy engages out of Hanwha Life when they were so close to pulling it back.
It was just so bizarre why Lehens was even there in the first place, or what he was hoping to achieve, given that the opponents had prio in mid and you're not going for any sort of a wonky flank at that timing. And then this game was just... This was like playing Jenga. And you played such a perfect game.
Yeah.
And then you mess up on one piece.
You have that crazy move where you like karate chop out like the half thing and it plops down perfectly. And then you just like, you try to scratch your nose, but you knock over the whole thing by accident. That's kind of what happened to Hanwha Life. As that's a big number. 36,000.
That, I mean, he might get Pog. He might.
Yeah, but we have to.
You have to remember.
We can't say definitely.
Who threw the hook at the end? Nautilus.
Nautilus did. Fantastic engages out of Bono. Let's not forget. Player of the game right there. Player of the game potential. Could come out. Don't be too surprised,
If it's not
guys.
unanimous, I've lost all faith.
You mean you haven't already? Either way, guys, we're going to go to the break. When we come back, game number 2.
뿔 빼자.
탈이 빼자. 탈이 뿔 빼자. 탈 잡았다. 탈 잡은 거 같은데? 아 까비. 안돼 빼라 스키 먹어. 나 한번 바로 들어갈래 이거?
나 루파
이제 봐줘.
나 괜찮아?
잡았고.
바로 갈래 이거?
아,
깨끗해.
하나만 텔.
나 깨끗해.
하나만 집 가다 텔.
아니야 나 지금 갈게 바로.
미포 노플.
아 그냥 라인으로 라인.
형님들 죄송합니다.
야 미포 이 자식.
이포.
바트.
나이스.
아
내가 바로 때 못 들었어. 내가 캐넨 공이.
내가 개트롤이었다. 진짜 미안하다.
아 근데 내가 잘할 수 있었는데
미안합니다.
내가 막 엄청 못 밀어냈어.
잘했어.
약간 좀